Hello, my dear students. How are you? I welcome you to this session. Yes, guys, this is your educator, Anita Acharya. And guys, what do you say? Let's crack it. But first, let's get a pen started. And based on popular demand, I am supposed to use some other color, but not red, please. Okay. I think this works well. Yeah. Yellow. Should wizard hit mommy? Let's crack it. And guys, this is taken from Vistas. Grade 12, are we ready? I know your exams are around the corner, and let's get started. So guys, I'm Anita Acharya, CBSE batch educator for class 11 and 12 English core. So whether you join science, commerce or humanities, you could join my classes in Unacademy. Guys, only a few days left for February to get over. Make the most of it because it's applicable only till 28th Feb 2021. Get a flat 10% off with Unacademy Plus subscription. Okay. So after February, it will get reduced to 5%. So please make sure you avail this offer, letting you know right away. And yes, don't forget to use the code Anita Live if you're doing it from YouTube. ANITA LIVE. What's new with Unacademy? Well, something's definitely cooking. We have Ask a Doubt. So Unacademy Ask a Doubt is something very unique. You can ask unlimited doubts, guys, and you get high quality video solutions in English and Hindi. This is right now there only for science and maths, but later it will be spread to other subjects. Obtain instant and accurate solutions to lakhs of questions. And the best part is you can ask doubts at any point of time and receive exact matches for questions. And also another important thing, you can get assistance with homework. Yes, you can get that. Nice? I thought as much. So how do you handle this? How to ask a doubt? Step 1, click on Ask a Doubt. See, there it is. Step 2, select. Take a picture or choose from gallery. Here you go. Step 3, select or click a picture of your question. After that, Step 4, you need to crop to highlight one specific question. Step 5, choose the subject that the question falls under. For example, I need help with this question, and can tell subject it's from mathematics, like that. Step 6, well, sit tight and you'll receive the solution soon. It says, I'm looking for a solution, and you can have something saying, I have a solution for you. Isn't that wonderful? Okay. And the Unacademy subscription features only gets better and better. You learn live from the comfort of your home. You have unlimited access to all courses. You have top educators of India on one single platform. Regular doubt clearing and answer writing sessions. Okay, the syllabus is covered, exhaustive coverage, and your teacher is not just a teacher but a mentor and a guide. Study material is created. Whatever is taught to you, after 1 hour, it gets created into a PDF format. And you can choose whether you want it annotated or not annotated, right? So that also remains with you and you can use it as many number of times as you wish. So we have practice tests, live tests and batch courses. Okay, sounds good? Guys, fresh batches coming up. 5th April, grade 11, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. 6th April 2021, grade 12, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. Apart from that, there are other batches also coming up in the month of March also, but I shall let you know about that later. But these are the fresh batches which I have with me right now. All right. This is about the Unacademy subscription pricing. So guys, as you can see, it's class 11 and 12 subscription for plus 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12, 15, 18 and 24 months. And guys, over here, I think I need to change my pen again. Let me use a darker color pen. Okay, so here you need to put Anita Live. If you're going through YouTube, it's ANITA LIVE. Okay, same here, and then you can proceed to pay. Remember to put the code before you proceed to pay. ANITALIVE. I'm only good in English, not in maths. That's why my geometry and my sense of understanding is not enough. So I keep stretching it out of the line. Excuse me for that. Alright, and these are your iconic subscription features. Though I'm not an iconic teacher in the sense that I don't do one-on-one class. I teach an entire batch. But if you take an iconic subscription, you can use Anita Live if you're going through YouTube, or Anita 10 if you're going through any other platform like our Unacademy platform, and you can get the 10% discount if it is within February. But if it's March, then you get a 5% discount. Here is the pricing. Again, you'll do the same thing. You can write Anita Live in the near the where you have the gift icon, and then you click on proceed to pay. Okay. So 10% off only for February 2021. Use referral code Anita10 or Anita Live if you go through YouTube. I'm writing it here for you. Okay, done. Now we start. Upcoming events, Revisathon coming up, pre-board sessions coming up. I hope you guys are chilled out and relaxed. And if you download the Unacademy app now, guys, you can try all of these features for free. Use code Anita10, ANITA10. This is about the author John Hoyer Updike. He was a popular American novelist. Look at the time, 1930 to 2009. He was a novelist, poet, as well as a short story writer. He was also a prominent art critic and literary critic. He was one of only 3 authors in the globe to win the Pulitzer Prize for fiction more than once. Updike has authored more than 20 novels and around a dozen short story collections. Apart from this, he has written poetry, art, and literary criticism, and also children's books. Now you might be wondering, why am I telling about the author when I only have one story? Should visit it, mommy? It's because I want students to read more. The problem nowadays is that since we don't read much about the author except what is there in our course, we are not able to answer questions to the best of our abilities. So I thought, just in case you finished studying this about the author, maybe you can pick up something like just see a poem of his or something else, so you'll feel, okay, I know a little more about John Updike. See? Smart move, no? Okay. So I'll just give a brief introduction. I will not quote the summary right now. What we'll do is we'll do the chapter. If time permits, we'll do the summary, or you can see it later. Because I had promised a line-by-line explanation, and that's what I'll definitely do. The story is based on Jack, a father to 2 kids, Joe and Bobby. Okay, that's Jack. And there are 2 children. What are the names? Joe and Bobby. His wife Claire was expecting their 3rd child. Jack used to tell his daughter Joe a story every evening as well as on Saturday afternoons. This story is about a time when he was telling her a story, that is in the afternoon. She interrupted him and asked him questions whenever she felt that the story was not being told correctly. So you can imagine a small kid telling, well, that's not the way you should tell it, Dad. Maybe it should be this way, maybe it should be that way. And do you think Jack liked it? Not at all. So Jack found himself in an awkward position and didn't know how to answer his daughter's questions. Now this part can also come as part of a question in your exam, like what's the parental relationship shown in this chapter. So if you have something like that, you can mention this kind of point, that parents normally feel that children should do whatever they are told. They should believe anything that is told by their parents. But here the reader is left wondering if this was a right attitude for a child. This moral question is raised in the story. Okay, and of course it's up to the reader to decide the suitable course of action. What should be done depends on the reader and also our cultural background and exposure. Okay, this is the summary, so that we will skip for some time. If I have time, we will come back to it. Okay, I'm just putting it slowly. You can slow it down when you see the PDF later. Yeah. Okay, So let's start with the lesson. Summary ends here. As you can see, I'm starting with the lesson now. Alright. In the evenings and for Saturday naps like today's, naps is like a little bit of sleep, a little bit of rest. Another word for nap is siesta. Is taking a little bit of rest, a short rest. Jack told his daughter Jo a story out of his head. This custom began when she was 2, was itself now nearly 2 years old, and his head felt empty. Each new story was a slight variation of a basic tale. A small creature usually named Roger. So Roger Fish, Roger Squirrel, Roger Chipmunk. Chipmunk are like squirrels, guys, okay? And had some problem and went with it to the wise old owl. So that's how his story used to go. The owl told him to go to the wizard. And the wizard is like a magician, okay? Good to see you all. Welcome to the class. Welcome. The owl told him to go to the wizard, and the wizard performed a magic spell that solved the problem, demanding in payment a number of pennies greater than the number that Roger Creature had, but in the same breath directing the animal to a place, Roger Creature because he talked about different creatures, directing the animal to a place where the extra pennies could be found. Then Roger was so happy, he played many games with other creatures and went home to his mother just in time to hear the train whistle that brought his daddy home from Boston. Okay, so this is a regular story which Jack used to tell. There are not too many variations. So you can imagine a little child might get bored if she heard the same kind of storyline every now and then. But do you think Jack understood this? Did not. Jack described their supper and the story was over. Working his way through the scheme was especially fatiguing on Saturday. Fatiguing? Tiring. I'll write it here for you guys. So you have the word fatigue, which is noun, and fatiguing, tiring. So fatiguing becomes a verb over here. On Saturday, because Joe never fell asleep in naps anymore, and knowing this made the rite seem futile. Rite, custom, ritual. Okay? Remember to spell it R-I-T-E. Futile, waste, in vain. Welcome to the class. Good evening. The little girl, not so little anymore, the bumps her feet made under the covers were halfway down the bed, their big double bed that they let her be in for naps, and when she was sick, had at last arranged herself, and from the way her fat face, deep in the pillow, shone in the sunlight, sifting through the drawn shades, filtering in. Drawn shades, curtains. So you get a very pretty picture of a girl who's sleeping and being told a story by her father. It did not seem fantastic that some magic would occur, and she would take a nap like an infant of 2. All clear? Her brother Bobby was 2, so brother was younger and already asleep with his bottle. Jack asked, "Who shall the story be about?" "Roger." Joe squeezed her eyes shut and smiled to be thinking she was thinking. Her eyes opened. Her mother's blue. Mother's blue means she also had blue eyes like her mother. "Skunk," she said firmly. A new animal. They must talk about skunks at nursery school. Having a fresh hero momentarily stirred Jack to creative enthusiasm. Momentarily, briefly. So in school, in a nursery school, they had given a topic called skunk and they had to know something about it. So she said, "Tell me about Roger's skunk." Okay. So far so good? Alright. Now you will notice when I'm going to start reading the story a little further with the father and the daughter interacting, my voices will change a bit for the father and the daughter so that it sounds more real and more natural and fun. Okay. So I'll be using some amount of voice modulation. I hope you enjoy the story. Okay, let's start. "All right," he said. Once upon a time, in the deep dark woods, there was a tiny little creature by the name of Roger Skunk, and he smelled very bad. Yes, Joe said. He smelled so bad that none of the other little woodland creatures would play with him. Joe looked at him solemnly, seriously. So she didn't know that, so she was a little worried about this. Solemnly, that's an adverb ending with ly, as I told you long time back actually, that 90% of adverbs end with ly, L-Y. Lee. Bruce Lee, the Bruce Lee of grammar. Alright, but only thing is you don't say L-E-E, it's L-Y. Joe looked at him solemnly. She hadn't foreseen this. Foreseen, hadn't seen it earlier. So foreseen means seeing it earlier. Hadn't foreseen, hadn't seen it earlier. Imagining it earlier. Whenever he would go out to play, Jack continued with zest, remembering certain humiliations of his own childhood. All of the other tiny animals would cry, oh, here comes Roger, Stinky Skunk, and they would run away. And Roger Skunk would stand there all alone, and 2 little round tears would fall from his eyes. So over here, continued with zest. Zest over here means, what does it mean? Energy. Yes. Another word? Zeal. Enthusiasm. Okay, that's about enough, right guys? Alright. So we go to the next slide. Notice the way though it starts once upon a time, it's got a very fairy tale effect. So it's a story in a story. And that's the interesting part of Should Wizard Hit Mommy? Fairy tale effect because of these points. Once upon a time. The corners of Joe's mouth drooped down. Drooped down? Fell down. Made a small like huff. I'll draw. I would love to. I can't be stopped now. So let me make that droop down face. There you go. Droop down. The corners of Joe's mouth drooped down and a lower lip bent forward as he traced with a forefinger along the side of her nose the course of one of Roger Skunk's tears. So the father, he felt the tears on her face and he realized that she was crying for Roger Skunk. Won't he see the owl? She asked in a high and faintly roughened voice, rough with emotions. Sitting on the bed beside her, Jack felt the covers as bed covers, tug, pull. As her legs switched tensely, she became very tense, thinking what would happen to Roger Skunk. He was pleased with this moment. He was telling her something true, something she must know, and had no wish to hurry on. So though he saw the daughter was upset, but he felt that at least I'm saying something real about somebody getting hurt, and it's a good thing that she understands it. But downstairs, a chair scraped. Scraped is that sound which happens when something is pulled. And he realized he must get down to help Claire paint the living room woodwork. So you must go and help Claire to paint the living room furniture. Woodwork refers to furniture. Well, he walked along very sadly and came to a very big tree. And in the tip top of the tree was an enormous, wise old owl. Good. Mr. Owl, who's saying good? Joe, she's so happy. Finally, the owl is there. Because all his stories, the owl is there. And the owl tells the address of how to reach the wizard. So owl being there is a very happy sign for Joe, who was feeling very upset for Roger Skunk a little earlier. Mr. Owl, Roger Skunk said, all the other little animals run away from me because I smell so bad. So you do, the owl said. Very, very bad. What can I do? Roger Skunk said, and he cried very hard. The wizard, Joe shouted and sat right up, and a little golden book spilled from the bed. Little golden book, guys, is like a series of fairy tales, okay? Now, Joe, Daddy's telling the story. Do you want to tell Daddy the story? So Jack is not happy about Joe getting very excited and saying the wizard, the wizard. He wants to decide the pace of the story. And he says, now Joe, Daddy is telling the story. Or are you the one who's going to tell Daddy the story? No, you, me. You, me means you, I'll put it over here, tell me the story. Then lie down and be sleepy. Oof, this Jack, ugh. Her head relapsed. Relapsed means fell back. Her head relapsed onto the pillow and she said, out of your head. He said, tell quickly from your head. Well, the owl thought and thought. At last he said, why don't you go see the wizard? Daddy, what? Are magic spells real? Look at Joe's questions. Are magic spells real? This was a new phase. Just this last month, a reality phase. When he told her spiders eat bugs, bugs are like insects, she turned to mother and asked, do they really? And when Claire told her God was in the sky and all around them, she turned to her father and insisted. Insisted means kept on asking with a sly. Sly means a little, how will I say it? With a little knowing yet eager smile. Is he really? Was he in the sky really? So she was questioning. She was doubting. They are real in stories, Jack answered curtly. Curtly, a little rudely. She had made him miss a beat in the narrative. She had made him stop his narrative to answer these questions. And he was not happy. The owl said, go to the dark woods, under the apple trees, into the swamp. Swamp is a bog or a marsh. It's like a muddy area. Over the creek. Creek is a small river. Okay. What's a creek? Who's saying this? Yes, Joe's saying it. That's right. A little river. Over the creek, and there will be the wizard's house. And that's the way Roger Skunk went. And pretty soon, he came to a little wide house. And he rapped on the door. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Okay. So I'm helping John Updike with all these special effects. Okay. I hope he appreciates it. Jack rapped on the windowsill. Windowsill is on the frame of the window. And under the covers, Joe's tall figure clenched in an infantile thrill. Clenched, stiffened. Her whole body became stiff. Infantile thrill, childish thrill. A childish pleasure. You know guys, when I was teaching in my class once, in Unacademy, in the plus class, one of my students said, I like the way you write down all the word meanings. I said, I'm glad you think so. And he said, you know what I feel? I said, what? For me, it is like jadi booty, which is like herbal medicine. Oof. Okay. So here is your jadi booty or your herbal medicine. Okay. So, and under the covers, Joe's tall figure clenched. So tall doesn't literally mean tall, it just means a straight figure. It just becomes straight and it became very stiff because she had a childish pleasure in what is going to happen, in an infantile thrill. And then a tiny little old man came out with a long white beard and a pointed blue hat and said, what's this? What you want? You smell awful. The wizard's voice was one of Jack's own favorite effects. He did it by scrunching up his face. Scrunching, twisting up his face. Okay, twisting. And somehow whining through his eyes. Whining through his eyes, making a very sad face through his eyes. Which felt for the interval rheumy. Rheumy means watery. So because he pressed his eyes tight and he spoke like that, his eyes also looked watery. He felt being an old man suited him. I know it, Roger Skunk said, and all the little animals run away from me. The enormous wise owl said you could help me. Well, maybe. Come on in. Don't get too close. Now inside Joe, there were all these magic things all jumbled together in a big dusty heap. Heap is like a lot of things put together untidily. Because the wizard did not have any cleaning lady. So there was no one to help him with the housekeeping. So all his magic things were kept in a big heap on the floor. Alright, we move to the next slide. Why? Why? Because he was a wizard and a very old man. Will he die? Who asked this question? Jo, the little girl. And what does her father say? Jack. No, wizards don't die. Well, he rummaged around and found an old stick called a magic wand and asked Roger Skunk what he wanted to smell like. Roger thought and said, roses. Yes, good, Jo said smugly. Smugly, happily, in a contented manner, in a satisfied way. Scrunching is a loud crunching noise. Whining is a long pitched cry. Rheumy is watery. But here scrunching means twisting the, closing his face tight. Closing his eyes tight. Yes, good, Jo said smugly. Jack fixed her with a trance-like gaze. Trance-like means as if he was looking at her without actually staring at her. And chanted in the wizard's elderly, irritable voice. Abracadabra, hocus pocus, Roger Skunk. How do you do? Roses, bozos, pull and ear, Roger Skunk, you never fear. Bingo! So this is his magic spell. Interesting, no? You want to say it with me? Yeah? Let's do it again. Abracadabra, hocus poo, Roger Skunk, how do you do? Roses, bozos, pull in here. Roger Skunk, you never fear. Bingo! Nice. He paused as a rapt expression. Rapt expression means attentive manner. Widened out from his daughter's nostrils. So he saw that she was looking in a very interested manner, forcing her eyebrows up and her lower lip down in a wide, noiseless grin. She was very happy. An expression in which Jack was startled, surprised, stunned. To recognize his wife feigning pleasure at cocktail parties. So the expression she made didn't seem very real because and we don't blame her. I mean, if you're saying the same kind of story every time, how is she supposed to look very interested all the time? But obviously, Jack doesn't seem to understand that. He thinks a child should just act like that and be very happy with whatever he tells. So Jack was amazed to recognize his wife. His wife means the expression of the child was exactly like his wife, pretending pleasure at cocktail parties. So maybe the wife didn't want to go to some parties which he was perhaps forcing her to go, and she would make this expression that she was happy, but she was not. And now we come back to the story. And all of a sudden, he whispered, the whole inside of the wizard's house was full of the smell of roses. Roses? Roger Fish cried. And the wizard said very cranky. Cranky means in an irritable manner. Now you must be wondering, why is he saying Roger Fish when it's Roger Skunk, isn't it? That'll be 7 pennies. 7 pennies like 7 cents or 7 paisa like that. Daddy, what? Roger Skunk. You said Roger Fish. Yes, Skunk. See, he is not bothered about that. You said Roger Fish. Wasn't that silly? And he gets angry and says, very silly of your stupid old daddy. Where was I? Well, you know about the pennies. So he is not feeling very happy to accept that he's been stupid. Say it. Okay, Roger Skunk said. But all I have is 4 pennies. And he began to cry. Jo made the crying face again. But this time without a trace of sincerity. Now he did not act as if she was really feeling bad for him. This annoyed Jack. Downstairs some more furniture rumbled. Rumbled means made noise. Claire shouldn't move heavy things. She was 6 months pregnant. it would be their third. So they had already had two children, a boy and a girl, and she was expecting, and they planned to have a third child. So the wizard said, so again his attention goes back to story. So the wizard said, "Oh, very well, go to the end of the lane and turn around 3 times and look down the magic well, and there you will find 3 pennies. Hurry up." So he tells a way by which he can pay him his fee of 7 pennies, and he only had 4, and the remaining 3 he could get it from the magic well by looking down. So Roger Skunk went to the end of the lane and turned around 3 times, and there in the magic well were 3 pennies. So he took them back to the wizard and was very happy, and ran out into the woods, and all the other little animals gathered around him because he smelled so good. And they played tag, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse. Lacrosse is like something like hockey, okay guys? Hockey, soccer, that's like football, and pick up sticks. Pick up sticks is something like where you throw some sticks together and then you pick it up without touching each other. What's pick up sticks? It's a game you play with sticks, like the wizard's magic wand, kind of. And they played games and laughed all afternoon, and then it began to get dark, and they all ran home to their mommies. So all the kids, in this case, the little animals, went back to their mommies. Joe was starting to fuss with her hands and look out of the window at the crack of day that showed under the shade. So she started playing around with her fingers, looking out the window and looking at the curtain through which they could see a little bit of light which was coming in through the curtains. She thought the story was all over. Jack didn't like women when they took anything for granted. Women, but this is only a small child. Well, Jack, what can I say about you? You seem to be like a very cranky old guy yourself. He liked them apprehensive. Apprehensive means nervous, hanging on his words. Well, that's very strange. He doesn't like to see women confident. He likes to see them nervous, hanging on his words. Maybe that helps to feed his own ego. So he was also very egoistic, and he felt that women, even a small girl like Joe, should be hanging on his words, being nervous. Now, Joe, are you listening? Yes, because this is very interesting. Roger Skunk's mommy said, "What's that awful smell?" "What?" And Roger Skunk said, "It's me, Mommy. I smell like roses." And she said, "Who made you smell like that?" And he said, "The wizard." And she said, "Well, of all the nerve means how dare he? You come with me, and we're going right back to that very awful wizard." Oof, oof, oof. His mother seems to be quite a, dominating person, and she certainly doesn't want him to smell like roses. Let's see why. Jo sat up, her hands dabbling in the air, playing around, twisting her hands here and there, okay? In the air, with genuine fright. She was twisting her hands, playing around or twisting in the air. With genuine fright, with real fright. "But Daddy," then he said about the other little animals, "run away." Her hands skittered off, moved off into the underbrush. Underbrush refers to the under the bed covers in this case. "All right," he said, "but Mommy, all the other little animals run away." And she said, "I don't care. You smell the way a little skunk should have, and I'm going to take you right back to that wizard." And she took an umbrella and went back with Roger Skunk and hit that wizard right over the head. Ow, ow, ouch. "No," Joe said, and put her hand out to touch his lips, yet even in her agitation, disturbance, did not quite dare to stop the source of truth. She did not really close his mouth, but just put her finger gently to his lips. Inspiration came to her. Inspiration, an idea. Tan-ta-da! A light bulb flashing. What is Joe thinking? Shall we find out? Let's go to the next slide. Then the wizard hit her on the head and did not change that little skunk back. Oh, well, this seems to be like a hitting match, huh? The mother hits the wizard hits the mother, and he does not change that little skunk back. Oh, well, Joe. Okay. And what does Jack said? No, he said. The wizard said, okay. And Roger Skunk did not smell of roses anymore. He smelled very bad again. But the other little Amam means she was talking, I think, of animals, and she was getting confused with the word. Joanne, it's Daddy's story. Shall Daddy not tell you any more stories? Oof, what a tyrant this Jack has become. Her broad face looked at him through sifted light, the little bits of light coming in, astounded. Astounded means shocked or worried. In this case, it will be stunned. So skittered, move quietly with light footsteps. Here the hands are moving. Underbrush are normally shrubs or small trees. In this case, it is her bedclothes. This is what happened then. Roger Skunk and his mommy went home, and they heard woo-oo, woo-oo, and it was the choo-choo train bringing Daddy Skunk home from Boston. And they had lima beans, those are long beans, okay, celery, liver, mashed potatoes, and pie, oh my, for dessert. That must be a ready-made pie for dessert. And when Roger Skunk was in bed, Mommy Skunk came up and hugged him and said he smelled like a little baby skunk again, and she loved him very much. And that's the end of the story. But Daddy, who's saying this joke? But Daddy, what? Then did the other little animals run away? No, because eventually means finally, they all got used to the way he was and did not mind it at all. So guys, lima beans is an edible flat white pea, and celery is a cultivated plant of the parsley family, like coriander, parsley, celery. They all are something similar. Celery has a lovely smell though. What's eventuality? In a little while. That was a stupid mommy. It was not, he said with rare emphasis. So he said he didn't like it. Okay, so he's just asking something from the story, and he says in a little while. He said that was a very stupid mommy. He said with rare emphasis, strong stress, and believed from her expression that she realized he was defending his own mother to her, or something as odd. Now I want you to put your big heavy head in the pillow and have a good long nap. He adjusted the shade so not even a crack of day showed, and tiptoed to the door, went gently to the door, in the pretense that she was already asleep. But when he turned, she was crouching. Crouching means she was sitting on fours, on top of the covers and staring at him. Hey, get under the covers and fall fast asleep. Bobby's asleep. Bobby is her brother. Okay, story is already over. She stood up and bounced gingerly on the springs. That means she kept jumping on the springs. Daddy! What? Tomorrow I want you to tell me the story that wizard took that magic wand and hit that mommy. Her plump fingers chopped forcefully right over the head. No, that's not the story. The point is that the little skunk loved his mommy more than he loved all the other little animals, and she knew what was right. No, tomorrow you say he hit that mommy. Okay, gingerly means in a cautious manner or in a little hesitant, slow manner. And Joe is saying, no, tomorrow the wizard has to hit that mommy. And that's the name of the chapter also, right? Should wizard hit mommy? Do it! She kicked her legs up and sat down on the bed with a great heave. Great heave is a great jump, and complaint of springs. So all the springs are also making noise because of her jumping around, as she had done hundreds of times before, except that this time she did not laugh. Say it, Daddy. We'll see. Now at least have a rest. Stay on the bed. You're a good girl. He closed the door and went downstairs. Claire had spread the newspapers. Claire is who? Claire is his wife. So Claire is wife. Let's have a quick look at the family now. Joe is the daughter. What's the name of the son? Yes, that's right, Bobby. Bobby was a son. And who's this person, the father? Jack. Jack is the husband. Okay. He closed the door and went downstairs. Claire had spread the newspapers and opened the paint can, and wearing an old shirt of his on top of a maternity smock. Maternity smock is like a loose kind of a dress because she was carrying. Was stroking the chair rail with a dipped brush. So she was planning to paint the railing of a chair. Above him, footsteps vibrated, and he called, "Joanne, shall I come up there and spank you?" Spank you means hit you. Oof. Okay, because you could hear her moving around. The footsteps hesitated. Hesitate means stop. "That was a long story," Claire said. "The poor kid," he answered, and with utter weariness. Weariness is tiredness. Watched his wife labor. Labor means work. She was working hard at painting the furniture. The woodwork, a cage of mouldings and railings and baseboards all around them, was half old tan and half new ivory, and he felt caught in an ugly middle position. So even the painting is symbolic of the way the relationship is. He feels he's stuck in the relationship. And though he as well felt his wife's presence in the cage with him, he did not want to speak with her, work with her, touch her, anything. He didn't want any of these things with her. Okay, that's pretty strange. He did not want to speak with her, work with her, touch her, anything. So this shows that their marriage was falling apart. Because it seems very unnatural that though he felt his wife's presence in the cage in the place, small area around, he did not want to speak with her, work with her, touch her, anything. It seems very, very extreme. Okay, but let's not say thank you, because I promised you if I have time, we'll do the summary, and we have. Shall we do that? Okay. That way you get a whole understanding of the story as well. We've come to the summary now. You have done the introduction if you remember, and we'll start with the story. Now with the summary of the story. Now guys, just want to share with you one thing. The important questions that you can get here is, what kind of story is this? So you can tell it's a story within a story. It has a fairy tale effect. There's also a message which goes across. It talks about a parental gap, and it also lets us know that there's a message about encouraging children's creativity, right? Which has to be addressed, or which should have been addressed here. These are the things that will come up. Other things could be directly about the story itself, the story within the story as to what really happens, and it can also be about Joe's reactions and how Joe, when you talk about parental relationship, do make it a point to tell also about how Joe keeps asking questions about, do magic spells really work, and is God really there with his angels? These are questions which she was bringing up, and which should have been answered rather than being made to feel as if they were bad questions or things that should have been pushed aside. Okay, so these are points which you should keep as far as the story is concerned. Why am I telling all this? Oh, your exam is around the corner, so I think I should inform you about it, isn't it? And do remember the names of the characters as well, so that you don't make mistakes, because you have quite a few chapters, so don't make mistakes about the names of the characters. Let me start with the summary now. On one Saturday afternoon siesta, Jack asked Joe about which animal she wanted to hear a story about. Her answer was a skunk. So Jack started the story with a skunk named Roger, who was a very smelly animal. So guys, a skunk looks something like a cat, maybe a little larger than a cat. And it has stripes on its back. It's black with white stripes on its back, and guys, it stinks a lot. It's found in several parts of America, Canada, and parts of Europe as well. So Jack had a story with a skunk named Roger who was a very smelly animal. None of his friends wanted to play with Roger the skunk. One day, Roger went to the wise owl and discussed his problem. The wise owl then advised him to visit the wizard. So you have the skunk, he has a problem. So how does the story go of Roger skunk? Okay, let me write Roger also. Roger skunk has a problem. Okay, what is the problem? He stinks. Okay, smells or stinks. And what does he do? He visits the wise owl. I'm just making a flow of the story. And what does the wise owl tell him to do? Tells him to visit the wizard. Then he goes to the wizard and he discusses his problem. Then what does the wizard do? Let me put another color so that we can talk about the resolution. So the wizard puts a magic spell. And what happened in magic smell? He smelled of roses. Then what happened? Then came the fee, for which the wizard told him to, do you remember what happened? Because it's not given here on the slide. He told him to go to the end of the lane, etc., etc., and there is some magic well, etc. I just put ... and he gives the fee. Gives the fee of 7 pennies. And when he comes back, smells of roses, and then, okay, there's not much space here, so I'll put it here. Friends, shall I put it on top otherwise? I think I will. Let me cut this off. So friends are very happy and he plays many games with them. But then, and here I must change the color back to yellow. Mom, oh, the color has not changed. Wait. Yeah, mom is very unhappy. Then what does she do? Goes to the wizard, hits him, and Roger again becomes smelly. Okay. Okay, so I have a little bit of a storyline for you here. Alright, so and the rest of it we'll see in the next slide if it's possible. So none of his friends wanted to play with Roger the skunk. One day, Roger went to the wise owl and discussed his problem. The wise owl then advised him to visit the wizard. See, here we go. Okay, visit the wizard. Okay, visit the wizard. Then after that, what happens? And so the skunk went to the wizard and shared his social challenge issues, discusses. After that, what happens? The wizard helped him to resolve his problem and asked him how he wished to smell. To this, Roger the skunk replied that he wanted to smell like roses. With the wizard's magic, he started smelling just like roses. Magic spell, roses. Here we go. Nice. Then he did not have enough money to pay the wizard. So the wizard told him to go to the magic well, turn around 3 times, and he would find 3 pennies which he could bring back and give to the wizard as his fee. I've shown you over there, he does that. The skunk did exactly what he was told and got the wizard his pennies. Later, he went out and all the other animals gathered around him as he was smelling very pleasant. However, when he went home, his mother disliked the smell and asked him Who had made him smell like that? Okay, just to see your storyline, just see. The magic spell, roses, fee, end of the lane, turn around, then the well, blah, blah, blah. Then what happens? He gives the fee, then he smells of roses, and friends are happy and he plays. But mom isn't happy, and she goes to the wizard, hits him, and Roger again becomes smelly. Oh, oh, oh. Okay, that wasn't like Santa Claus, but it's not ho ho ho, it's oh oh oh, which means I'm so sorry for him. Alright, anyway, however, when he went home, his mother disliked the smell and asked him who had made him smell like that. Roger's skunk narrated the entire story to his mother, who remark means said, that she liked his smell earlier because he smelled the way a little skunk ought to smell. Now guys, the word ought to means should. Ought to means should. We sometimes don't use the word ought to so much. We use it normally as should. But just remember that the word ought to means should. Then the skunk told his mom that the other animals ran away from him because of the stink. Stink means smell. However, his mom said that it did not matter to her at all. She took Roger back to the wizard. As soon as the wizard opened the door, no hello hi, she gave him one blow on his head with her umbrella. Ouch! Then the wizard changed the skunk's smell back to its original stink, making Roger smelly again. Okay, so this part is Roger. Now we come back to the rest of the story. So Roger became smelly again. And while returning, what happened? He heard the train coming. You know that woo sound? Yes. And that's onomatopoeia, guys. That's a literary device. Train, the sound of the train. There's a lot of imagery and there's a lot of sound effects and there's a lot of excitement which is woven in the story. His father was traveling on that train. Father was on that train. Later, the family had dinner together. Okay, the family dinner, I'll put it. Family dinner. And when the skunk was about to sleep, so when Roger's skunk was about to sleep, what happened then? His mom came to him and told him that she loved him just the way he was. And here I'm going to put a different color of the pen because now we're going to have Joe's idea or inspiration. So let me put it as Joe's inspiration. After, when the story ends over here, she loved him and all that stuff, the end. What does Joe say? Oh no, it doesn't have to be that way. The wizard should hit the mom right back. Oof. And because the mom had not understood her child's problem, then what would happen? Then he would insist that Roger's skunk should smell his lovely smell of roses. Then his friends would play with him, friends would be, let me put that smiley face again. But hearing this, Jack was not at all happy. This is Jack's face. He is not at all impressed with this statement. After this, Joe asked her father whether the animals ran away from the skunk when Roger became his old smelly self. Jack replied that they did not do so. All the creatures had now got habituated. Habituated? Used to. had now got habituated to the way Roger smelled. Joe did not like the way the skunk's mother forced him to smell foul again. She wanted that her father should narrate another story the following day, in which the wizard hits Mommy back and firmly refuses to change the skunk's smell back to its original state. No, my dear Mommy, I am not changing it into this dirty skunk smell. Your son is going to smell of roses. That's how she wanted the story to end. But Jack reminded her that the main point of the story was that the skunk loved his mom more than any other animal in the forest, and that Mommy knew what was right for Roger. This sounds like something which is very, very typical. He then told her to sleep as her baby brother was also sleeping. He then closed the door and went downstairs, where his wife Claire was painting the chair rail. Claire commented that it was a long story, and he admitted that it was indeed so. Jack wearily means in a tired or exhausted manner. I think I've given this meaning, but doesn't matter. I can give it to you again. In and Jack wearily watched Claire do the painting. He did not feel like helping her. Also, he reflected that their marriage was in a hopeless situation. At the end of the story, we find that Jack and Claire's marriage was falling apart. So if you look at it, the fact that let's look at the storytelling part. So if you look at Jack's storytelling, Jack was firm in his ideas, not very original because it was the same plot, same basic plot. Did not like his daughter's interruptions. His daughter, I'm putting down Jo also just in case I don't forget her name. Jo's interruptions. Does not appreciate her asking questions. Also, he threatens to spank her. Spank her means to hit her, which is not acceptable. And there's something else that he does. What is it? Can you tell me? Okay, you think about it, but I'll put it on here for you, so I'll use a different ink for this. Yellow now? Jack liked women to be, yes, you're getting it right now, to be nervous, and this showed his egoistic nature. Okay, so in the actual story that we see, we don't see anything much of Bobby, right? Bobby is just mentioned as the story is basically the father, Jack, and the daughter, Jo, and a little bit about Claire, enough for us to know that Claire was very tired, they didn't have a good relationship, and the marriage was falling apart. If you look at the story, we find that it has a conversational story. It's a story within a story. These are the features. Story within a story. This is one thing we notice immediately. And it has a fairy tale, once upon a time, which gives it a very magical feel. Magical. And then the story has a lot of magic and wizard. So it something which is pleasant for children. Magic, wizard, the owl, and animals, and they all come together. So it all seems very, very interesting. Okay, but the thing is, the way Jack insisted that the ending should be exactly like this, and he asked, who's telling the story, you or me, shows his very dominating nature. So we can also understand that Jack had a very dominating nature. Okay, what else do we understand? Like I said, Roger Creature. So very I mean, not imaginative or creative plots. So his plots were not creative. His storyline were not very creative. He told the same thing with just different characters. So maybe the first time made it was something nice, but then the same thing over and over again can be very boring for a child. And he compared this little child to her mother's fake expression. So compared Joe's expressions to her mother's or to Claire's fake expressions, Claire's fake expressions at cocktail parties. That's such an unfair comparison to make, because one is a grown-up woman, mother of 3 or 2 and having a third child, and the other is just a small child of 4. And there's a lot of I would say there's a lot of rich imagery in the story, because it makes us feel as if we're right there. The story is very lifelike, especially the way the father and daughter, the kind of interaction they have. The story also is a little amusing, a lot of humor. You find it a little funny that the mother should go and hit the wizard with an umbrella. So some amusing touches are there in the story. We the readers find Joe extremely cute. Joe is a very cute and sensitive child. She asks questions, which is a good thing because it shows her intelligence. Though it's not appreciated by Jack, by the way. Okay, that's about it. I think this should be enough for you to appreciate the story. Yeah, so please go through it once. Even these expressions of Joe's body language. So Joe's body language is very realistic. Like Joe's mouth drooped down at the picture. I'm inspired by that. So Joe's body language is very real. It's very realistic for a 4-year-old. And as you can see, this last line, he was pleased with this moment. He was telling her something true, something she must know, and had no wish to hurry on. So it shows that Jack was a storyteller who did not care for what the reader wanted, or what the listener wanted in this case, which is Joe. Right? And all his commands, be quiet, be still, who's in the story, lets us know he's very dominating. There's a beautiful angle to the story when he says, you go by this thing, then you cross this place. So it gives a very magical touch of space and of a magical world, which brings us to our childhood days of fairy tales, is it not? So all the word meanings have also been given. Please go through it very carefully. All right, and that's it. Thank you. Let's crack it. I hope you enjoyed this class, this session, as much as I enjoyed training you. Take good care of yourself, okay? And no abracadabra, because your teacher is going to be here very soon on YouTube telling yet one more lesson or preparing you for your exams. I'll see what is required to be done, and if I get proper feedback from my students, I'll make sure we have a class just for you. Take good care. See you at Unacademy. And remember, if you join Unacademy soon, in the month of February, you get a 10% discount, which will not be there next month. Do make sure you use ANITALIVE if you're going through YouTube, or Anita10 ANITA10 if you go to the Unacademy platform. Take good care. Bye bye. See you in my classes.